Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. In love with animals, or are we? In the West, most claim to love animals. Worldwide, billions are kept as pets, approaching one per human, and hundreds of millions of dollars are given to animal charities each year. But most people are also quite happy to eat them. And we've created an £800 billion industry to deliver animals to our table. Should we overcome our hypocrisy and accept that we don't, in fact, care about animals at all, and our aim is simply to use them for our pleasure? Or should we take radical steps to restructure our diet and our agri-business to end our attachment to eating animals? Thank you so much for joining us to discuss this hot topic. I have a wonderful panel. Unfortunately, we couldn't find cooperative animals to join to provide their perspective, but we have some fantastic humans to provide theirs. Kicking off with Peter Singer, who is a world-renowned moral philosopher and founder of the charity The Life You Can Save. Peter is known for his 1975 book Animal Liberation, in which he argues for veganism. His new book, Why Vegan, will be coming out this month. Next up, we have Christopher Belshaw, who is Honorary Associate in Philosophy at the Open University, author of Environmental Philosophy, Annihilation, The Sense and Significance of Death, and his latest book, The Value and Meaning of Life, published this year. So some light reading for some of you there. Next up, we have Peter Egan, who's a British actor, director, and animal rights activist. Peter is an ambassador for Bosnian Dog Rescue Saving Suffering Strays and for the Animals Asia Foundation. He's also a patron of All Dogs Matter and Chalden Animal Sanctuary. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, we have Marianne Siegert, who is a journalist and radio presenter who's worked for The Times, The FT and The Independent, and has presented a number of programmes on BBC Radio 4. She's currently writing a book about women and authority. Thank you all so much for joining us. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to lay out their position. So you'll have 3 minutes to provide us with your position, your pitch, as it were. So kicking off, if I could ask Peter Singer, are we hypocritical in the way that we treat animals?
I certainly think we are hypocritical if we say that we love animals, because in fact we're extremely selective in the animals we love. And this is based purely on whether they appeal to us, whether they're the animals that we want to have in the home as companion animals, or perhaps in some cases they're animals that we like to observe in their wild habitat. But if while we do this, we're eating pigs and cows and chickens, then we certainly don't love animals as such, because especially if we're simply buying them at the supermarket from the cheapest kind of products, we're buying factory farmed animals, which means that we're complicit in the utterly miserable lives that they have had to endure in order to be turned into flesh for us to eat, or the eggs that commercially raised industrialized hens are laying, or the milk that cows are producing. None of these products are produced with real concern for the animals. They're produced with simply the bottom line at stake. Many years ago, Ruth Harrison said in a book called Animal Machines, "Cruelty is acknowledged only where profitability ceases." And although there have been some reforms since then in terms of legislation, unfortunately that's still the bottom line. If you can do something to an animal that makes it more productive, makes it cheaper to produce its product, then that's what's going to be done. And that is certainly not showing love for animals.
Christopher, are we hypocritical in the way we treat animals?
Well, I'm like Noah. I don't want to put all animals in the same boat. They're enormously different from each other in ways relevant to how we treat them and feel about them. People are different as well. Some of us are hypocrites and others are not. Nor is love all of the same kind. I might love cats in one way and oysters in quite another. Is there hypocrisy in loving some animals and eating others? Or worse, loving and eating the same animal? It might appear so. The doggy person enjoys a chicken curry. The farmer loves the lamb, but then later eats the sheep. But I'm not sure that hypocrisy is really the main concern. The friend of animals might say that if you love these cute little bunnies, you wouldn't put them on the barbecue. But this friend is likely to say also, and more simply, you shouldn't eat them whether or not you love them. Suppose they do say this. Is it true? Well, I want to say no, it's not true. So then I at least want to defend some forms of meat eating, and at least some among the meat eaters. You can eat animals without being a hypocrite. More important, you can eat animals or some animals without doing anything wrong. Or better, nothing wrong so far as these animals are concerned. Maybe we shouldn't eat animals for health reasons or for the sake of the environment. Maybe also for the sake of other animals. It's bad for the duck if we eat the ducklings. It's bad for cats, they'll be next, if we start eating dogs. But I want to say that you can eat the rabbit without doing what is bad for or wrong to the rabbit. So how does the argument go? We'll start with roadkill. You don't cause an animal's death or cause it any pain. You're neither wronging nor harming the animal if you eat it. Imagine next that you shoot and immediately painlessly kill, later to eat, an unsuspecting pigeon. Does this harm it? Well, absolutely it does, but not all harms are wrong. We want to live on, care about this, have interests in the future. Most animals don't want this. They don't care. They don't have these interests. For that reason, and I know this is controversial, I want to say it's not bad for them and we don't wrong them if we cause them a sudden and painless death. Maybe the painless death is a fantasy. So you're not a great shot, you cause death with some pain. Are there reasons not to do this? Absolutely there are. But these reasons can be outweighed. You're driving the car and there's some stuff in the road and you can kill, not painlessly, the rabbit or the children. Most of us will kill the rabbit. Or you kill the rabbit or the deer. Or one rabbit versus a whole warrenful. But this outweighing isn't straightforward, and you might think that the slim pleasure of eating can't justify any pain in killing. I want to disagree, but certainly the amount matters, and there isn't any justification for the massive pain involved in factory farming. We're probably all going to agree about that. But it's different where the pain is smaller. So some pain. But we can ask, what's the alternative to this shortish, give me half a minute, shortish life with a quickish but pain-free death? For farm animals, the alternative is no life at all. If we don't eat them, they don't exist. For wild animals, it's a somewhat longer but still short life with probably a considerably more painful death. For these animals, unlike many that we love, there's no credible story where they get a good life, a good long life and a happy death. And that's why it can be okay to eat them. And that's why animal liberation is, I think, sometimes a dodgy term.
Okay, thank you very much for laying out that position. Peter Egan, are we hypocritical in the way we treat animals?
Yeah, I think so. I certainly was anyway. And I think there can be accidental hypocrisy. I think it's related to that. I always thought that I was a very compassionate person and that I loved all animals. But in fact, I discovered through my journey caring about animals and loving them as much as I do that really I was a speciesist, what is called as a speciesist, until I actually had a sort of like thunderbolt moment when I realized that I believe firmly that all animals have a right, the same right as I have, to a good life and a comfortable life without any kind of cruelty. And that happened along the time. I've been rescuing dogs for about 20 years. And I was a meat eater at the same time as rescuing loads of dogs and loving these dogs and getting that fantastic serotonin kind of boost whenever I related to them. And my sense of well-being, being with my dogs, was absolutely unparalleled by anything. It was just absolutely wonderful. And I was asked to become an ambassador to a charity, Animals Asia, by a wonderful woman called Jill Robinson. And she introduced me to a film called Earthlings. And I watched this film called Earthlings. And it's the most devastating journey for all animals in terms of being produced for the table. And it shocked the life out of me and made me realize that, in fact, I was in fact a hypocrite because I hadn't actually spread, I had very selective compassion and I hadn't spread it to all animals. I think that all animals have a part to play on our planet, apart from those that are selected for intensive animal farming. And the crazy thing about that is that we are producing a situation where the meat that carnivores are eating is in fact destroying our planet, as we all know.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below. Or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.